So we've invented the ground, we've invented people to be on the ground, now we're going to decide which direction they walk in, usually towards what they want. Your protagonist's goal. A goal is found, discovered, and incidentally, if the pilot begins after your protagonist or protagonists have discovered their goal, the audience will fully expect them to drop it. You always got to keep moving. MacGuffin. Hitchcock popularized calling the thingamabobby, the object of desire, a MacGuffin. It's the Ark of the Covenant, it's a scholarship to Harvard, it's a princess, it's a sword, it's a jewel, it's backstage passes for Kiss, it's the object of desire. Now, any old fucker can make a MacGuffin an object of desire. What you're going to do is have two MacGuffins, a good MacGuffin and a bad MacGuffin. Multiple MacGuffins. Prince Zuko in Avatar. His MacGuffin, ostensibly, is to win the respect and admiration of his father, the Fire King. He plans to do this by capturing or killing the last airbender, hence the title. He is defeated over and over. In his rage, he sees his enemy as personifying his struggle, that he has to kill this boy to become a man. Over time, he comes to respect the Avatar, to believe in his cause, to commiserate, spoilers, and then they can work together towards a shared larger goal, to bring peace to the world on fire. The good MacGuffin. Bad MacGuffin, kill the Avatar. Good MacGuffin, help the Avatar. Characters change. So do goals. So to invent some examples, it's an advertisement and the bad MacGuffin is a chocolate bar. And the good MacGuffin is sharing the chocolate bar with a friend. You know, goodness wins out. In a movie, bad MacGuffin, get somebody to like you by stealing them a very famous ruby. And then the good MacGuffin is discovering that love isn't earned. Wait, is love earned? Well, either way, you discover a love of theft. In the 20th century, bad MacGuffin, invade Russia in winter. Good MacGuffin, defeat yourself instead. And you can confine this process to the story structure of the first episode if you like. You know, kind of get it out of the way, but it's it's a nice bit of structural shorthand to have a good MacGuffin and a bad MacGuffin in an episode now and then. Just, you know, pepper them in. Because it's interesting to watch a character change their mind, to grow, to develop. And moreover, the good MacGuffin should almost always come at the expense of the bad MacGuffin. You have to trade, you can't have both, you know. In the first version of my show Starship Goldfish, Sam, the main character at the time, was traumatized by the loss of his memories and afraid that if he takes life seriously, he'll only lose it again, and so it's just creating ties for no reason. So his aim was to be chaotic and reckless and never stay in one place long enough to remember his pain. Bad MacGuffin, like Zuko's fire, like Zuko's ambition. And then his long-abandoned desire of getting his memories back rears its head as a possibility. The option to restore his mind and self-respect is on the table again. Good MacGuffin. And he can't have both, because you can't have despair and hope at the same time, because despair is, by definition, a lack of hope. Now we're on a noble path. So the viewer places their point of view inside the head of your protagonist. So your protagonist always has to make some amount of sense, grow. You can't have a character people dislike as the main character, right? Because they're role-playing at home. And so now our protagonist is on a noble path. We at home feel like we are getting better, even though we're actually not, probably actually getting actively worse as we sit around at home vegetating. But we feel like we're getting better. That story resolution is therapeutic, and really, it's not that the good MacGuffin would necessarily redeem them. The real redemption is that in their new path, they're energized. It's making our character feel whole again, the act of seeking. Which brings me to the next point, lack. Motivation is not as simple as casting out a rod with something your character desires and then like dangling it in front of their face as they pursue it. As a writer, you need to establish what the problem is inside them and how this pursuit heals them, puts them on the path to healing, helps them not fail, or even if they do fail, how that failure sets them up on a larger path. The act of seeking makes them complete. Now, there is a hole in your character, always. There's a tree knot that they have just had to grow around, and it's made them a little bit weird looking. Writer and script editor John York calls this lack. L-A-C-K, lack. I have a lack of biscuits. I lack conviction, something missing. And the cure for their lack is this new journey. Now that you've shown them their MacGuffins, there's this new vitality they feel. They have direction. It's exciting. Not only do we get to meet a cool new person, but we get to meet them at a really important junction in their life where they find a renewed sense of purpose. In Killing Eve, Eve Pilastri is obsessed with killers, with murderers, with serial killers. And when she comes in contact with a real killer in real life, the assassin Villanelle, she begins to feel complete. and also horny. Bam. Eve pursues Villanelle, loses her job, well, that was a bad MacGuffin, and gains the good MacGuffin of doing what she loves, which is chase killers around and get horny. She has put on the altar of desire her old life. Her lack is gone, and she starts her new journey with gusto. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who wrote Killing Eve and also writes Fleabag, would ask herself when she was writing, what would I do if I weren't scared? And it's a really cool question to ask yourself when you're writing, because you want them to have unpredictable and admirable actions, right? What would I do if I weren't scared? We make interesting choices when we're feeling brave. The act of seeking itself must make your character complete. So they need to approach every new event with this clarity of intent. But generally, your characters need a prompt to do that. They need what we in the biz call spicy meatballs. The academic term, obviously. Inciting incidents, some people call it, but I think, in terms of like, when you go to university, say spicy meatballs and tell them Jason sent you. So you've got the world and its events lighting a fire under your character's bum. Your character is interesting and their bum's on fire, and you're having them let go of what they think they need, stability or security or whatever, in favor of what they now realize they need, new pants. They're about to realize their lack with your inciting instance, and so you are going to spice things up. It's time for an inciting event that incites events. Usually it's out of the protagonist's control. It's a volcanic eruption that wakes up the Transformers. It's the opening credits to the original Power Rangers, and Rita Repulsa pulls a lid off of her moon prison and says, after 1,000 years I'm free, it's time to conquer Earth.
After 10,000 years I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
And God, wouldn't it be so easy to write everything like that, after teaching chemistry, I'm dying. It's time to sell some meth. Just fuck them up, smash their normality, kill their dad, burn their crops, have them fail the spelling bee, kill their dad. Just be a bit evil. A young farmhand goes to visit his nice old friend Ben, and then comes home for a nice home-cooked meal to find his parents have been burned to death. A kid in LA goes on a reckless adventure with his nice Austrian robot friend, and then calls home to find out his parents have been butchered. A little boy goes to see Zorro with his parents. Bang, bang, bang. Ha! You have to be Batman now. Now, the inciting event can force the main character to do something, but it's better to have them make it a decision. They decide they have to do something, they're inspired by it. That really feels to the viewer like, oh, okay, cool, well, this person has a well of energy inside them, and that's going to keep on driving story. I'm going to watch the next episode. You want your character to be the event that happens to the story. They're proactive. So after this great big event, they choose to walk a new path. Look back to your world building and characterizations, and at the paths arising naturally from the story you've set up. A teen gang member sees their childhood best friend killed by their own gang's leader. Drama. The Queen is removed from power by a public vote. Where's she gonna go? Who's she gonna see? What's gonna happen? I mean, fuck. Okay, Captain America, joined the military, a bunch of stuff happened beyond his control. Bam, he's Captain America, I mean, you could argue that who he was deep down was he was always going to turn out to be a really nice guy, and then it's just the serum made his inner strength outer strength, and you could argue that that's beautiful. But he was a passenger. It can be as dumb as that. The inciting incident is only a prompt. Given your hard work in world building and character building, by placing those two things together, your character should only be able to react in a certain way. And that is with the inner energy, motivation, vitality that you have given them. Characters need agency. Inciting events prompt a reaction from your character, right? So how your character reacts to them is a pivotal moment in their characterization. And as a viewer, we tend to like decisiveness in a character. One thing you'll hear about when it comes to good characterization is agency, that the character should be an agent of their own free will. They perform their own acts, the story isn't just happening to them. Moreover, they should be proactive, driving events rather than simply reacting to events in real time. If that's not the case, it tends to be a defining aspect of the film, that the character is on a sort of Willy Wonka ride that they haven't chosen to be on necessarily, like Jesse and Chester in Dude, Where's My Car? Or the dude in Big Lebowski. Why do people say that agency is important? Well, step one, the viewer is the protagonist, kind of. They put their POV in the viewer's head, so by limiting that character's agency, you limit the overall experience of your viewer. And that is actually partly why agency comes up in good representation in media. Because if your protagonist is reacting to events beyond their control, it's difficult to see yourself through them. Honestly, I just think that agency is indicative of a well-made world and a well-built character. Because if your character is making decisions that feel weighty, that they feel significant, it means that you laid a lot of groundwork to get your viewer to react that way. Agency is earned. In my opinion, your character should lose something to get agency, and that should be time and effort. In my opinion, it shouldn't be free. Freedom, power, anything of that sort should come from equivalent loss. Not only that, but the decision to have agency should create further obstacles. The more decisions your character makes, the more ramifications for those decisions exist. And now plot has arisen from those actions. That's agency. Not only did the character happen to the story like a goddamn fucking force of nature, we understand that decision, it's logical to us. The story was kinda neutral. It didn't necessarily force them to react one way or another, and now the story itself is forced in a new direction and must react itself to the character's agency. Agency and motivation are twinned. Agency cannot exist without motivation. It means nothing to catch a ball thrown at your face, why wouldn't you? But if your setting's an elite country club and you are the ball boy, and there's a long-standing tradition of being abused by the elite at that club, if you've accepted begrudgingly years of mental and physical abuse and now this impoverished ball boy is daring to catch a ball thrown at their head, a simple action has significance. Instead of a throw, a catch, a face, a ball, it becomes like a political cartoon. The throw is the ignorance of the wealthy, the ball is their cruelty, the face is the dignity of the working class, the catch is the token act of resistance. Placed in the context of loss, effort, and lack, your character's act of agency becomes an explosive plot point. In the ball boy example, it could contribute to the original inciting incident, and then the ball boy goes on to become a professional tennis player. Or it can set up the final stages of the story. If the main story is about how cruel it is at this country club, it incites a revolution of ball boys taking back their balls. I don't know how ball boys work. Do they own the balls? And it's not just protagonists. All of your characters should have agency, especially villains. In fact, a villain's unbridled agency often drives the story events. You know, they drive what's happening in the plot, and the hero just has to sort of follow along. So side characters should have a rich backstory, and that's always going to include a story arc, and a story arc implies a goal, and goals imply inciting events. They've got to have agency. It doesn't cost you anything to add that kind of depth, I think. So, to sum up, plan for your bad MacGuffin to be sacrificed at the altar of a good MacGuffin. The act of seeking makes your character whole. An inciting event happens to your character. Your character, in turn, happens to the story. They make a decision that changes its course. Their act of agency should have significance, cost, and ramifications. Once your motivation is set, your journey can begin, after some planning, which is why the next video is about structure. As usual, you can go to Patreon, and for a few dollars you could see next week's video a week early. Otherwise, I'll just see you here in a week.